Hey, Mike Healy here, and welcome to the very first video of the documentary series that I'm going to do about launching your business. I think you're going to get a ton out of this. I expect to try to keep these videos fairly quick, but I'm telling you that it is absolutely going to be something that's going to blow your mind. Now, this can be applied to any business, okay? Just so you understand that. My background has been in networking, direct selling for 25 years, very, very successfully. I've done a ton of companies. And done pretty much the majority of them fairly successful. Okay, I've become very, very successful. Some of them were complete flops, but it happens. Now, I need you to write this down before we get into the details of it, and I just want you to remember this phrase. Make data-driven decisions. Make data-driven decisions. Now, the reason I'm pointing that out is a lot of this stuff that I'm going to show you, and the reason I've been able to grow my businesses so quickly is because I've learned how to do that. I've learned how to use the technology that's out there now to really look to see what's going on, how to capitalize on it, how to speed up the process, and so on. So my objective for doing these videos is to kind of give you a leg up on what I look at, how I look at it, how I start my business, what I think of, what I get my marketing with, because I've done this now probably in the last, for the last 8 years. I've been able to really build quickly and very, very successfully using old school principles, which I've mentioned before. I kind of say it's a blockbuster. It was a blockbuster world. Now it's a Netflix world, but old school principles. But now I use new school technologies and so on to get this thing rolling. We're going to go to my computer here in a second. Because I'm going to show you some websites that I use to kind of track some stuff to look first and foremost. Okay, so here we are. If you're ready to get started, let's go. Let's just jump right into this thing. Okay, so first off, because I've been in the industry 25 years now, I get pitched on everything, and it's totally part of the game, and I totally get it, and it's all good. However, I don't just join something because Billy Bob asked me to do it or a friend asked me to do it, that kind of thing. I'm a lot more strategic in my decision making. But what I use software, which I'm going to about show you here shortly, to figure out if what I'm going to be a part of or want to be a part of or what my buddy's all fired up about is something that's going to last or be worth my while. Now, let me kind of also say this to you is the days of when I was in the mid 90s of network marketing, when I started, the dream was this residual income that you would pass on to your kids, right? In my opinion, because technology moves so fast and companies and trends move so fast in today's day and age, those days are over. This is my opinion and so on. So what I typically look for, and it's held true over the last almost 10 years now, that I look for companies that are in markets that I know are going to have an uptick at least for 2 to 5 years. That's how I strategize it. And throughout that 2 to 5 years, I bust my butt. I work as fast as I can. I try to help as many people as I can make a lot of money as quickly as possible because stuff happens. And I would never leave a company if they kept it together or they were doing the right things or whatever. Stuff happens and you have to be prepared for that. Now, why would you get into something and just build for it? Because, in my opinion, the direct selling market space, networking, whatever, is still one of the greatest ways for people to become entrepreneurs with little to no business background and so on. All right, so let's just do this. Okay, so anyhow, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go to my computer. I'm going to show you where I start. All right, so first things first is I typically go to what we call, Google Trends. Now, Google Trends is a website that you can actually figure out what all their data is and what they're looking to do, what they track, and they obviously track everything. So as an example, I was just recently in a company that did travel. So let's put that in here. Okay, all you gotta do is put travel in and then do the search term. And what's nice is it's going to give me some information over the past 12 months to see what the interest is, right? Number 100 being the top, and down here the lower it is, the worst. So it's in right now, it's in the 87 range. So it's pretty interesting. So that looks pretty good. Like travel, you would think is kind of holding steady, which it fairly much is. Now, what I like to do is instead of going 12 months, I like to give a historical perspective, and I go back as far as I can go. And you'll notice that from when it first started of travel, it kind of has been on a decline. Now it's kind of doing a little bit of an even out, and you can see right here where travel really spiked in March. And what happened was that was kind of probably the last ditch effort of everybody being able to go do stuff, and then it's kind of trended back a little bit. It's caught a little more momentum back and so on. So nothing wrong with travel, but it's not something that's exploding. Let me look at something else I'm going to show you, and I'm going to get to the points on this in a second. Essential oils. Okay, now I'm not in an essential oil company. I think they're awesome. I'm not picking on any companies. I'm not picking on any industries. I'm just showing you stuff. But from 2004 to the present, you'll see essential oils pretty much took off, and then it's kind of slowed down a bit, right? It's kind of done a little bit of a kind of a kickback, and you can notice right back here, back in December, it was really, really moving. Now, if you'll notice right up here where there's a big spike in essential oils, right about here, I think a lot of it had to do with what was coming out in the news, and people wanted to take responsibility. I also get hit up with gold investing. And I have points to this, by the way. So if you hang in there, it'll be worth your while. Gold investing. Now, gold investing's pretty much stayed stable. It's not exploding. It's not something that a lot of people are interested in, but they should be by a long shot. But you'll notice here these massive spikes right here. Take a guess what happened right around 2008 and 2009. Can you guess? That was when we had the housing crisis, and people were looking to not lose their money. And then now what I did is the company that I recently got involved in has to do with the food delivery service. And so let's check that out. Food delivery. Okay, so you can see the trend line on this is steadily growing up. It's kind of done a little bit of a kind of a crawlback on that, but I still believe that it's trending upward enough that it's going to be something that's sustainable and probably get into different things. So one of the other things is with what I'm doing is I'm not just looking at the company I'm into because of food delivery. I'm looking at it because they plan on getting into beverage delivery, pharmaceutical delivery, product delivery, things like that. Okay, because there's one, it fits a niche that people are familiar with, and we kind of got conditioned to do it over the last couple of years. But two, it's going to probably go faster and faster because more and more people are looking for gig economy stuff to do. And like the food deliveries, the people deliveries, and so on, with all of the different things, are companies that are spaces that people can get into without getting secondary incomes, without getting secondary jobs, if that makes sense. Now I want to scroll down here, and I got to show you this real quick, because what's nice is it'll give you more data, but down here I want you to see the related topics. So this is kind of how I would now niche down into finding companies or competitors are in that space. So if I click on DoorDash, this is what really kind of seals the deal. Is you can see this interest in what's happened to DoorDash, which is a online food delivery app system, which you may or may not have used already. So if you look at it, the spike is this thing is going upward at a really, really rapid pace. So the key in a lot of these things is to get in on stuff early on before it has an explosion, right? Or right as it's growing or it's becoming stable, that kind of thing. So it mitigates your risk. I think that's the word I was looking for, and so on. All right, so last thing I'm going to show you on this, because we're just talking now about how I choose something and what I look for immediately, because we're not going to go build anything or do anything or put anything effort in unless we think it's going to be worth our time. I then go to SimilarWeb. Now, because I picked on essential oils, I'm going to put in doTERRA. I didn't pick on doTERRA or essential oils, but if you'll notice, go to SimilarWeb and you type any name in there and it'll pull up their websites. Okay, so real quick too, just so you know, a lot of times if I want to know if a company is growing, I might click on the overall thing, would be doTERRA.com. So that's what I look to see, because I know they're very, very heavy product based, obviously, because of what they are. And it gives you a broad spectrum thing. But if I want to look to see if reps are still working this thing, I go to typically the login pages of what they are, the back office sites. Like you can see down here, I've got doTERRA.com or doTERRA.myBackOffice, my V office, right? So I usually go to doTERRA.com just to see what kind of growth the company still has, interest, and so on. And you can see they got a pretty high global rank for website. They've got over 4.8 million people still visit monthly to their site. Now the best thing, or one of the better things about SimilarWeb is if you scroll down, you're going to notice it'll show you the monthly trends going back. This one's 3 months. SimilarWeb used to do 6 months, but I don't know why they switched to 3, probably to get more people to upgrade and pay for it. But this is a free service, so you can upgrade anytime. But if you scroll down, it'll show you the top countries, give you the percentages of their growth that month or the month before. If you keep scrolling down, it'll kind of tell you other websites, top categories of the people that are searching. And if you go down here, you'll see the top sites. So it's a great place to find out what competitors are doing in that space, which is kind of a neat thing. And then if you scroll down a little farther, you'll see where their traffic comes from. So this is important stuff. This is really, really, if you're going to be a real business person, you got to learn real business tips and skills, right? And then the next cool part is keyword search traffic. It'll show you exactly of the keywords being searched, which one has the dominance and so on. So you kind of know what the keywords are right there. So all that being said, what I'm going to now bring together in this aspect, what I'm trying to show you is I make data-driven decisions right out of the gates based on if I'm going to invest my time, energy, and talent into companies. I look at them, I look at who they are, I evaluate them right out of the gates to see if it's worth it. Have I picked them all to be complete winners? Not necessarily, but I probably would say 90% of the ones that I've done have really done very, very well shortly after if I chose them at the right time frame. So that's one of the nice aspects of this. So what recently happened, and let me kind of close this because I want it just to be the first introductory video, and I gave you just some small things to play with here, is so I got approached by somebody I respected in the industry, and that's typically what happens is somebody has some credibility and influence, and they talk to you about something. And then what I did is I started to do a little due diligence in the background of the industry, the space, and what they were trying to do. So with the food delivery company that I'm looking at that's going through a networking model, I think that what they've done is they've completely figured out what the issues were with the current companies and so on. So if you think about that, that's another aspect to look at, is there's nothing wrong with getting into industries that are already established and already have big players in them. But if you can spin off something that might be based on the problems they had earlier in their career, their business structures, and you can come in and spin off something simple that may have fixed those issues, if you're that company, you can capitalize on that. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it from that aspect. And so what my next plan will be is, so now that I've said, okay, this makes sense, this looks like something that's a good market, it looks simple for people to do, people can join the company that I'm in just like they did with other apps, it's completely free, they can enroll and so on. I'm going to now strategically put a plan together of how I can start introducing people to it, okay, which is where the rubber meets the road with your business. So anyhow, I tried not to be too long in this one, but to kind of get you to the flow of how I want to do these videos. You can get comfortable with them being between maybe 10 and a half an hour long, depending on what we're doing here. But I'm telling you, if you follow me on this, I'm going to show you some really, really cool stuff, some tricks, some systems you probably weren't aware of, things you can do out there to speed up your process and really begin to become an authority figure in your company, because you know these things. It kind of works out. I mean, I'm just a normal guy as far as I'm concerned. I'm just a dad and a husband, and I just figured these things out, and now people think I'm smart, but I kind of take that tongue in cheek as to how smart I really am. But to me, it's just a puzzle. It's fun. I find this stuff fascinating, and I'd love to get your feedback if you got questions on anything, and so on. And there's a lot of other things that I can show you too, and we're going to get into that, where I now find other things to really blow the business up and kind of so how you can capitalize and be on top of your company really, really quick, or at least be noticed very quickly. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other videos.
Yeah.